Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we're not going to talk about cooking. We're going to talk about something a bit more important.
Yes, it's a COVID-19 vaccination. It's been approved in the UAE in the past week, and here is my experience, and I try to also answer some questions some people might have about this. So I'm in my early 30s. I'm a healthy person. I'm not a healthcare worker. I don't work in the elderly home. I don't even work in the shopping mall or anywhere in the front line. So anywhere else in the world, I'm sure right now, someone like me with no opportunity at all to have access to any COVID-19 vaccination, unless you are willing to volunteer for a trial. So winding back a few months, UAE has conducted trial program for the Sinopharm vaccination, and there were over 30,000 people from 125 different nationalities who fearlessly and selflessly came forward and volunteered. And based on the data from that trial, UAE government has approved the vaccination. They are the first country to approve the Sinopharm vaccination, and the second country in the world after the UK to approve any vaccination for COVID-19 for non-emergency use. So it's my gratitude and wholesome thanks to these 30,000 plus volunteers, as well as the planning of the UAE government, which brings me this opportunity right now to decide whether I want the vaccination or not. I'm not qualified to give medical advice, so I'm just basing my own findings from news and other sources that I read. So, is this vaccination currently widely recognized internationally? And the answer is not yet. There were only a few countries right now that have approved this vaccination, such as UAE and Bahrain. So, in absolute medical terms, it might be considered an experimental vaccination. It's not being approved by the FDA. It's not being widely peer-reviewed by medical journals. But is it safe to use? So that is something that we all have to consider all angles and come to our own informed decision, which I'm trying to give some information here only, so we can all decide on our own. China's good at a lot of things for sure, but when it comes to food reputation, it does not always have the best reputation. Domestically, it's a very common topic. People do talk about it. And in 2008, there was a major milk scandal, which after that, a lot of Chinese people, they buy the milk powder for their babies from abroad, from other countries, wherever they could. So actually, it's also a big business in Dubai. There were lots of Chinese traders. They buy the milk powder in large quantities and ship them back to China to sell to the people there via WeChat. So I could understand when people have reservations or concerns because this vaccine is developed in China, but what I can say is that we have to look at the big picture here. So this is a big, almost official effort by China, by a state-sponsored pharmaceutical company to market this vaccine to the whole world. There are lots of very big geopolitical implications here. Their reputation, national reputation, lies on it. And will there be counterfeit copies of this vaccine developed by some small companies in China, some fraudsters? I think in the official shipments to the UAE, I don't think so. I don't see that happening. There is a saying in China as well that the better quality products which they produce, they always give to other countries, and the lesser quality they keep to themselves. And this is a common traditional saying. What we can do here is that we will need to objectively consider this the situation, and we have to decide for ourselves. When I read the news, I try to read it from different sources so I can have a bigger picture perspective. On this event, I've of course looked up in the UAE news, Khaleej Times, national news, etc. Give encouraging statements. I also looked into the China news, and of course there's lots of national pride that they portrayed as a result of this pioneer approval from the UAE. And I also looked into some of the comments from just common internet folk, the so-called YouTube channels of China, because YouTube's banned in China. They use a different app. So I looked into those, and there are some people who raise concerns of why is it being approved by another country, but it's not being approved in China yet. Are they being used to experiment our vaccine, etc.? There are, of course, other comments about feeling proud that this vaccine has been proven quite effective, recognized by another country. And at the same time, I also looked into Western news as well. And Western news, some of it traditionally, to be fair, by the state, can be quite biased against China. When they even portray a positive news about China, there's always a negative side that they need to highlight. And on this event, I looked into news outlets such as The Guardian in the UK, CNN, New York Times, and it's a pretty common theme. So when they portray this news, it's the heading would be UAE approve Sinopharm vaccination, but major doubts persist. Of course, I would go into the whole article and read what they say about it, and they would say, there is a lack of transparency in the data released by the UAE, and there's also lack of transparency apart from China and Sinopharm, and there's a lack of response from Sinopharm after the approval. I would say that's, these may be factual to understand that these may be fair points, but going through the whole article, I really don't see a lot of very negative lights, considering how negative these outlets could be in their portrayal of China. And actually, they have interviewed some medical experts, and I read that they said that the medical experts said that because the Sinopharm vaccination was developed in the traditional method, so actually by the traditional method, if there were any side effects, then they are more likely to have side effects than the Pfizer vaccination, because Pfizer vaccination was not developed via the traditional vaccination method. And also said that 86% definitely is a respectable number, and that's definitely something to be considered. So I went on the second day the vaccine was made available to the public, and I went to the one hospital in Dubai which they administered the vaccine. By the time I got to the line at 11:40 a.m., I can see already a huge line of cars waiting. And in the end, we waited over 8 hours. By the time we got to the end of the line, we were told that they have run out of stock for the day and given a VIP pass and asked to come back on next day and promised that we don't need to line up at all again. So on the next day, I went back at 9 a.m. and as promised, I was able to skip all the lines and get the vaccination. Before vaccination, they did some vital sign tests such as blood pressure and gave us a brief consultation and briefing from the doctor. After the vaccine, we were asked to test again for vital signs for observation, after which we're good to go. So it's been 24 hours now. I feel completely fine. Thank you for watching my video. Everyone's time is very valuable, and I hope you find this video useful. And if you like cooking or just like to follow me and my channel for other videos, please do subscribe and share the video out. And until the next video, please take care, please stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.